Welcome to the Tipping Point Show. I'm Jimmy Evans. I have a great show today with Billy Crone, and we'll be talking about his new book, Klaus Schwab, Joe Biden, and the Planned Destruction of America. This is going to be a powerful show. At the end, in our subscriber-only portion, Billy and I are going to be talking about the world in Israel, what's happening right now in Israel, which is a powder keg, but also very serious developments related to China and Russia. So you're going to want to stay tuned for that if you're a subscriber. If you're not, you can go to endtimes.com and become a subscriber. Right now we're going to talk about Billy's new book, Klaus Schwab, Joe Biden, and the Planned Destruction of America. Billy, thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thanks for having me.
Always good to have you here. And so this obviously is a book that is exposing Klaus Schwab and also the Biden-Harris administration and how they're going along with all this. So who is Klaus Schwab and what is the Great Reset?
Klaus Schwab is basically the gentleman who's responsible for formulating what people may have heard other than the Great Reset, the World Economic Forum.
Right.
And that was in 1971. And it was basically this, initially this global think tank, economies, but that's really the smokescreen. He comes from Germany. His dad was buddies with the Nazis. And basically, in a nutshell, he's taking what Hitler wanted to do in the Third Reich. If Hitler would have won, he was going to renovate the planet under the Third Reich conditions, including creating a super race, the Aryan race. And of course, he didn't win. Right. So I believe that Klaus, coming out of Germany, his dad's buddies with the Nazis, he's basically gone another tack. Hitler didn't get the planet to bring in the Third Reich with his version of utopia, forced utopia, by means of physical military. He lost. It wouldn't work. Right. So I believe Klaus took a different tack. And this is what he's been doing since 1971, over 50 years.
Wow.
His tact is he's planted what I call his SS agents around the world, and not just around the world, Pastor Jimmy, but in key positions. And they're trained by Schwab, the World Economic Forum. In fact, he calls them the Young Global Leaders Program. So he trains these people into his way of thinking to basically take over the planet. And he really should call it the rise of the Fourth Reich, but that's too obvious. So he calls it the Fourth Industrial Revolution and or the Great Reset. It's all the same thing. But basically, that's what he's done for the last 50 years. He's planted people in every corner of the world, every key position. You're talking about Justin Trudeau from Canada is straight from Klaus Schwab, doing his bidding. That's why Canada is experiencing the tyranny that it's experiencing. Angela Merkel from Germany, Emmanuel Macron from France. All these people are straight out, and they don't hide it. It's on their internet. They have a database. You can go search these people. But basically, what they want to do is install, go figure, a one world government, a one world religion, a cashless society, a global cashless society that is biometrically tied into people's body parts. And you're like, well, wait a second, you can call this the Great Reset all you want. That's what the Bible says is going to come one day with the Antichrist kingdom. So that's who he is. And what we did, this is actually our fourth and final study on our Klaus Schwab expose, and who is he, what's this World Economic Forum, and his Hitler ties and things of that nature. But this one answers the question, but wait a second, I get it Canada, I get it Germany, I get it, France, around the world. But what about America? Does Klaus really have his SS agents in America? Yes.
Absolutely.
And we demonstrate that it is not by chance that they cheated and shoved Biden in the last time. And this is why they want Harris in a second time to finish the job. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris are hirelings of Klaus Schwab. They are here to do his will. And you're going, well, what's his will? Well, the Great Reset has two sides to it. The first side, again, as I mentioned, is an economic reset. They want to crash the existing global system on purpose, the monetary system, so they can have that as an excuse to flip it into a digital cashless society. Right. Well, wait a second. If you're going to crash the global economy to reset it with this new cashless one, then the current one's got to go. Well, who's the current one? That's us. That's America. That's the dollar. So Joe Biden and Harris was brought in from Klaus to do the job, to purposely crash the American economy as an excuse to now ride in as the saviors and flip the switch. Biden, over 2 years ago, already signed the executive order for America to go cashless, the digital dollar. Some even joke and call it Biden bucks and things of that nature. Biden has progressed quite a bit. They're not quite there yet, though. They're getting close. They have done nothing but destroy our economy on purpose. They're not just making dumb decisions. They're deliberate decisions at the behest of Klaus Schwab. But if Harris gets in, and they want her in, they're doing all they can to get her in, she will finish the job, Pastor Jimmy. She will purposely destroy our economy. You think it's bad now? You ain't seen nothing yet, because that's their goal. And they want all this in place by 2030.
2030. So what evidence is there, Billy, like the Biden-Harris administration, because Joe Biden goes to the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland every year.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
He's a disciple. He really is a disciple. And when Billy says these things, Billy documents these things. And you've done documentaries on this.
Yeah.
And the thing that I appreciate about your research is you'll sit there and say something, and then you'll show them saying it.
Yep.
And so they're not hiding their agenda. So the Biden-Harris administration right now, what are they doing to further Klaus Schwab agenda?
Oh, yeah. Great question. Well, first of all, you're right. We prove, because that sounds like, man, that's a conspiracy theory. You mean to tell me that the person in the White House right now and Harris, Biden, that they're really hirelings from Schwab? Yes. And you're right. We if you get the DVDs, we show you the video. If you get the book, of course, we transcribe it. But it's easy to demonstrate with Biden. Biden has had an almost 25-year history with the World Economic Forum with Klaus Schwab directly. In fact, on tape, and we transcribe it there for the book, we actually have Klaus Schwab introducing Joe Biden, and he literally says with a big smile on his face, he's totally gleeful, that Joe Biden, quote, "You have been one of our hardest working disciples."
Wow.
It's on tape, man. And so it's not a conspiracy theory. Harris, easy to demonstrate. You could just do a quick search, Kamala Harris, World Economic Forum, and while she's been in the White House, it's like, where's she doing? She ain't fixing the border. That's for sure what she's been traipsing around the planet, Pastor Jimmy. You can see the articles. She's pushing the World Economic Forum, the Great Reset agenda around the world.
Wow.
Her husband, Doug Imhoff, he is also all the time does speeches at the World Economic Forum. So they're all coming from the same camp. And that's the important thing. Once you understand who they're working for, then it starts to make sense why they're doing what they're doing. They're not here to help America. They're here as hirelings to purposely destroy America. And you don't get that until you understand what the plan is. The plan goes back to Schwab, the Great Reset, crash the American economy so we could flip it to the digital. That's the first half of the Great Reset. But how are they doing that? Again, we document literally from day one of Joe Biden being shoved into the White House exactly how they are purposely dismantling our economy to crash it on purpose. Number one, we deal with the oil and the energy, right? What was the very first thing he did the very first day he got in office? It was not by chance.
Just stop all the fracking, stop all the drilling.
Exactly. Now, why? Because even secular economists admit that if you're going to have a thriving economy, like we did when Trump was in, the first thing you got to do is have readily access available energy and cheap energy.
Right.
Well, that's what Trump brought in. That's why the economy was booming like never before. And it didn't take long. No. Well, reverse it. You start shutting it down. Guess what? It doesn't take long to what? Begin to destroy your economy. That's why it wasn't an environmental issue. It wasn't just, boy, Biden's making dumb decisions. No, they're deliberate decisions. He attacked that first because that's the first leg that you need to quickly destroy any economy in any country. Right. And then, of course, that's what it did. It began to destroy the finances and the economy itself. As we saw, everything went through the roof and inflation and things of that nature. Well, once that happens, then what came next? Well, that's when we saw the food prices skyrocket. And people say, man, even things like butter is way up. Going to a drive-through McDonald's is like triple the price. Well, that's what they want, right? Yeah. And you go back to the Great Reset agenda, they also want to bring in controlling your food supply. They want you dependent upon them for food. And so again, if you make prices so high, then people clamor, government, help us out, give us, and that's what they want. So it began to affect food and commerce. And then it moved into the next phase. And the next phase, of course, was people began to lose their jobs and things of that nature because it's just too expensive for a business. And only the big ones, the corporations who, by the way, work for Schwab, they continue. But the little moms and pops, they begin to dry up. But again, then you lose your job, you lose your livelihood, whether it's the business owner or the people who work for the business. And what do? You cry out for the government. Help, I need your help. Right. That's what they want. They want you completely dependent. Then it began to affect the real estate and property. Man, it's gone through the roof, right? And then people now, they not only cannot afford a house, but some people can't afford to keep their house. and things of that nature. And that's what the energy costs and all that's going through the roof and all that stuff. But that's what they want, because another part of the Great Reset is a 15-minute city. And so we want you to lose your job because we're going to dictate where you live and what you eat and cannot eat. We want you to cry out, government save us. Right?
15-minute city. Now, this has already taken place in China, but this is, they won't allow you to travel outside of a 15-minute radius of where you live.
Correct. Right. And people say, well, they ain't going to do that to me. Well, first of all, the bombshell, and we actually exposed this. It isn't just China, Pastor Jimmy, and it's not even just Europe. There's already, not coming, already here in the United States of America, multiple 15-minute cities.
Really?
Yes, absolutely. We document that. So that's how far their agenda has gone. And just to explain real quick, and we have a whole giant study on 15-minute cities. What is that? But 15-minute cities is basically you will be confined within a 15-minute radius of where you get allowed to live. Even if you can keep your home. Most people will be corralled into an area, basically a apartment complex style living. But don't worry, it's going to save the planet and it's going to be good for you. It's going to be really convenient. No, it's basically a digital prison planet. Right. And this is why they want to bring in the digital economy, because that's where they're going to control everything we do. Yep. And don't do. And people don't realize, well, we're already cashless. Who cares if they flip it to go cashless? Who cares if Biden already signed the executive order to go cashless? I'd hardly use cash. No, think about that. When that becomes the only option, here's what they can do. And it's digital, which means it's electronic, so they can do some pretty savvy things to you. Number one, they combine it with Big Brother technology. And by the way, this is already going on in China, yes. Has been for many years, yes. Which Klaus, we had exposed on tape. He wants to bring that model to the world with this Great Reset. That's why Joe Biden, we call him China Joe, and Harris, Kami Kamala, because they work for Klaus, who wants to bring this China model. But the digital prison plan is, when you got only digital currency, you say, well, they ain't going to tell me, what to do. Well, if they catch you saying anything bad about the government, it's digital. They'll delete half your money. Yeah. And that's no joke. They can do it because they'll have access. It's in a universal system now, and it's all digital.
So
right?
In China, just to validate what you're saying, in China right now, a person jaywalks, they can use facial recognition. Everything's being videoed. Mm-hmm. Cameras everywhere. Yeah. They can use facial recognition software to identify the person who just jaywalked. They take money out of your account automatically. The fine, they don't send you a bill. They take it out of your account immediately. Yeah. Then it goes against your social credit score. Yeah. And so everything that you do against their will goes against your social credit score. Then you can't travel. Mm-hmm. You can't purchase certain things. Right. All kinds of restrictions. And this is a communist dictatorial system that depends on that technology. So when you're talking about a cashless society, and that's what the Bible says, there's mm-hmm. going to be a cashless society that's controlled one world. Right. Okay. So this is just moving the ball in that direction.
Yes, exactly. And that's what people need to realize. This is how serious this time frame is, this election is, because if Kamala gets in, Pastor Jimmy, she's going to finish the job. Oh, yeah. And to finish the job is destroy our economy on purpose, and they're going to bring this system, this digital prison planet, to, yes, even America. It's a planned destruction of America. You say something bad online, they'll take your money away. Yeah. They could also do a couple other things. You're a 15-minute city. Well, I'm going to go where I want to go. No, you won't. Because number one, this is another thing. Why are they forcing electric vehicles and everything else on the planet? Why, Harris and Biden, it ain't about saving the planet. It's about controlling where you can and cannot go. Yeah. First of all, there's a certain radius that you can go with electric vehicle, which is not very long. But more importantly, if you do something wrong, they'll shut your vehicle off. Yeah. And you won't go anywhere. Yeah. Even if you have a charge. And so that's the control factor. You say, well, I'm just going to get out of this 15-minute city. No, you won't. They can do what's called geofencing of your money. And so they can track you and your money by a satellite. And when you try to make it out of your 15-minute barrier, your money automatically shuts off. They also have what's called a digital timestamp, that if you don't use your money by a certain point to help the economy, then it just goes away. They take it from you. So you can't even make a savings to get out. So that's why people are saying this is a concentration camp, a digital concentration camp. This is what they're building. You're going like, well, that sounds like the Nazis. Yeah, that sounds like something China would do. Yeah, that's why he's China Joe, Kami Kamala. This is what they want to bring to America.
Well, The technology, and I did a message at our conference a couple of weeks ago, and you were speaking at the conference also, but I did a message called The Signs of the Very End Times.
Yeah.
And so we've had end time signs for 76 years since Israel became a nation.
Yeah.
But in order for the end to come, there has to be technology.
Yeah.
Revelation 11 says that when the two witnesses are killed, the inhabitants of the earth gloat over them. In other words, everyone on earth is seeing it at the same time. Well, we have right now, that couldn't have happened 30 or 40 years ago, even with satellite television.
Right.
Today, there's 6.92 billion smartphones in the world. There's only 8 billion people.
Yeah.
You take away the babies and the little kids, every person on earth right now, not a cell phone, a smartphone, can watch the same thing at the same time. Because John wrote that 1900 years ago.
Yeah.
And you think about the inhabitants of the earth are going to gloat over a 3.5-day event. Yeah, the technology exists. Well, the technology that you're talking about, see, when the rapture happens, the technology to have a central control of the economy doesn't have to happen until the middle of the tribulation.
Right.
Is that right? The Revelation 13?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's when most people believe that he implements the mark of the beast system, and I would agree with you. And back to I've said for a couple years now, this is the importance of the development of AI, artificial intelligence, because Revelation 13 says they're controlling all the buying and selling. They're able to do a global communication to say you need to worship this guy. They need to also have a big brother, a global system, that basically, because they give the order, and if you don't say yes to worship this guy, it says you will be killed. So that means they got to know everybody's geolocation. They got to know whether or not you responded and said yes or no, etc. Blah blah blah. So that's a global big brother. So you throw all that. It's a global context. Now we've had the satellites, we've had the computers, we've had even the microchipping abilities, but this is on a global basis. My point is, you can't hire enough people to run that global back-end system. And this is in real time buying and selling, real-time notification. Did they worship the beast or not? What did they say? Where are they at? But guess what, Pastor Jimmy? Now with the development of artificial intelligence, it is superhuman. It could do what no amount of humans can. And that's what's also being built into this B system. Call it Great Reset all you want. It's the B system. That's why they're big on AI. In fact, China who's already doing this to their population, they are boasting that they are going to be the world leader in AI by, shocker, here it comes, 2030, the same date.
What do you think the 2030 significance is? That's 6 years from now, really 5.5 years from now. Mm-hmm. So what do you think the significance of 2030 is?
Well, that's their target date. Yeah. Right, that's what they've said on tape since the pandemic. The pandemic was the trigger to get it started, and because that's how they bring all this new world order.
So everything you're saying, 2030 is when they want to have
exactly, it. And they don't hide it. I was over last fall in Scotland. I was I just got off the plane. I'm heading towards the baggage, and of course on the escalator thing, and right there in this big gigantoid mural, 2030. It's everywhere, Pastor Jimmy. But so they say this is when they want this into play. That's why it's important for people to realize Joe Biden got them pretty far on their agenda. He's done a real good job for them destroying our economy.
Someone asked me back in 2020 when the election, someone said, why do you think the Lord would allow Joe Biden to win? Mm-hmm. And I said, because it's the end times. Mm-hmm. And he will architect, the beast system and the Klaus Schwab desires more than anybody else.
Yeah.
I believe that, and of course the election is going to take place here in November. And we're obviously being very partisan in this, but we're being partisan in the sense of end time prophecy.
Right.
And what's going to happen to America. Mm-hmm. Because I love America, and I know people watch this all over the world, but we love America, and I want what's best for America. And you see what's happened in the last 3.5 years. Also, talk about the border for just a minute.
I'm so glad you brought that
open.
Yeah, and again, this is why they want Harris in the second term to finish the job, because they got the 2030 agenda. Yeah. It's bad enough that they're fulfilling, dare I say, laying the foundation for Revelation 13, the cashless society, the mark of the beast system, Biden and Harris, the Great Reset. They're also doing another thing. Revelation 17 says that in the 7-year tribulation, the Antichrist kingdom is going to be split up into 10 horns, ruled by 10 kings, and it says specifically there, once that gets established, they have one purpose, and that's to hand their authority over to the Antichrist. Right. So the question is, do we see any signs of the planet being split up into specifically 10, not 122, not 5, 10 chunks to manage. Yes, this is also another thing that people don't realize is a part of the Great Reset. This is a map that was produced by the Club of Rome back in the early 70s, which we have on tape. Klaus Schwab admitted he's the one who got them their start, so they're working hand in hand. So it isn't just developing a cashless society for purposes of control. They want to split the planet up into 10 kingdoms. We've got the map. We show you the map. Now, here's what's interesting. If you look at that map, the world is not only in 10 kingdoms, but here up at the upper left, there's the number one kingdom is a merger of Canada, US, and Mexico. And then you're going like, well, wait a second. That's exactly what the Biden-Harris administration is doing. This is why they don't want to fix the border. They have no plans on fixing the border. They want a borderless community. And this is what Biden has been doing. This is why they want Harris in the second time to finish the job. They want to combine Canada, US, and Mexico into one of these 10 horn kingdoms. And then we will become basically like the European Union. And the term that they're already saying that they're going to call us now, we will not be United States of America anymore. We will be the North American Union. Right?
Wow.
And I think, for me personally, I think that kind of answers the question, why don't you really see America mentioned in Bible prophecy? Because America as we know it will no longer be in existence. We will be one of the 10 merged with Canada, US, and Mexico. It's on tape. We've got the map. This is the plan. And this is the other thing that Biden and Harris were brought in to do. And so once again, you understand who they work for. Once you understand the game plan, then it starts to make sense why they're doing what they're doing. It's not just dumb decisions, it's deliberate decisions. And that's why we titled that specifically, The Planned Destruction of America. If the Great Reset is ever going to happen, America has to go.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you understand Bible prophecy, the things that are happening in the world right now, Billy, and we're going to be talking in the subscriber only portion about what's happening in Israel, Russia, China, it's all Bible prophecy. What we're saying, this is Bible prophecy coming true right before our eyes. Last October 7th, I think, was a wake-up call for a lot of people. And what's happening now in Israel, the seriousness of what's happening in Israel right now between them, especially them and Iran, it has brought the world's attention to this tiny little nation in the Middle East. At the United Nations meeting last week, Psalm 2, Mark Hitchcock talked at the conference about Psalm 2, why do the nations rage, why do the people devise a vain thing against the Lord and his anointed? At the United Nations General Assembly meeting last week, they were raging. Netanyahu gave a speech and half the people walked out.
Yeah.
And then you have Erdogan from Turkey, you have the Saudi prince, you have the Jordan, all these nations, and they're raging against Israel. They're raging against them. And the next step is going to be a military imposition of a two-state solution. That's called Armageddon.
Yeah, exactly.
When the world marches against Jerusalem. Well, it's happening right before our eyes. So America is not in Bible prophecy.
Right.
You could try real hard to try to make it fit, but it just really doesn't. Why aren't we there? First of all, the rapture will decimate America.
Yeah.
Okay, but also we're already falling. I mean, we don't have very far to fall.
Right.
So how can people? You have the documentary on this.
Oh yeah.
So how can people get the documentary?
Yeah, our teaching website, getalifemedia.com. I'd like to say we used to be able to offer these things on Amazon, but Amazon cancel cultured us specifically from this information.
Right.
So the Lord blessed us with their own ability to produce the books, but we also had the DVDs. And we've made it easy for people. If you get the DVDs, we don't copyright our material. We actually tell you, please make copies. Pastor Jimmy, we're trying to get this information out as fast as we can, because the reality is basically this. A vote for Kamala is a vote for the destruction of the United States of America. Not just economically, but they want to destroy us to where we're going out of existence. I get it, you're not going to stop the 7-year tribulation. My hope is that as a Christian, that we make wise choices so that we can maximize the freedoms that we have as much as we can for Christ until he comes and gets us. But this is the reality. This is not even a geopolitical issue. This is a national sovereignty issue. And these guys are hirelings. This is what they've been brought in. But our website, getalifemedia.com, you can get the books, get the DVDs, get it out as fast as you can, make a difference.
Klaus Schwab, Joe Biden, and the planned destruction of America. And I know that this program today is the most partisan that I've ever been on the Tipping Point show. Because I don't tell people how to vote. I'm very careful about that. And on the subscriber portion, I'm political about Israel and about morality all the time. But in this show today, the reason that I'm glad that Billy's here and he's saying the things he's saying is we're in trouble. This is not a normal election that's coming up. We have a serious existential threat to America. Yeah. We are crumbling from within. Kamala Harris was the most radical senator. She had the most radical voting record of any senator. And so she's in bed with Klaus Schwab, just the way Biden is too. And so we'll see what happens in the election. I hope that you're praying for the election. I hope you take it very seriously. Amen. That if you're a believer, that you're registered to vote and you go vote. Don't be a fatalist and just say Jesus is coming. Who cares? It matters. Not just on a presidential level, but on a state level, on senators, congressmen, everybody, mayors. Everything matters in the world that we're living in right now. And when you see the polls right now, Billy, and this was true in the last several elections, it's 50-50.
Yeah.
You're just seeing half the people over here, we're a divided nation. And so it's a very, very critical time in human history related to, the rapture and the end. How close do you think we are? I know we're close, but how close?
Well, the rapture is what's called an imminent event. It can happen at any moment.
Yeah.
It can happen while we're doing this broadcast, and that would be fantastic. No offense, I'm having a great time, by the way. But we need to wake up every day and realize it's really that close.
Right.
But really, we also, all these, as shocking as it is, as threatening as it is, as concerning as it is, with Joe Biden, the Great Reset, Antichrist Kingdom, Cashless Society, the Tin Horn Kingdom, really what we need to do as Christians to translate that is, it's God's loving reminder, Pastor Jimmy. I'm never going to tell you exactly when, because I know your hearts. You goof off to the very end.
Yeah.
But he gives us many signs, and that's all this is. These are signs that the 7-year tribulation is getting close. We leave prior. So when I give you signs of the 7-year getting close, what I'm really saying is, church, be ready, because I can come back at any moment, closer than it's ever been.
And the birth pains are harder. Jesus said it would be like birth pains. Birth pains get worse and they get closer together. And that's what we're seeing right now on a global scale. We're going to go into the subscriber-only portion of the program now. Billy's going to stay with me. We're talking about some breaking news that's coming out of Israel about a potential strike by Iran. Now, we tape these shows on Tuesday, so this is Tuesday, October 1st. This will post tomorrow morning on the 2nd, so by the time you see this, you may already be seeing what's happening in Israel. But there's also very serious warnings about China and Russia. So we're going to talk about current events in Israel, but also China and Russia, and news reports very troubling coming out about both of those nations and threats that they're making to the rest of the world. And so if you're not a subscriber at endtimes.com, go there right now. It's $7 a month, about the cost of a meal at McDonald's. You can have this information come to you. I have the podcast every week, Tipping Point. You get the entire podcast without ads. Mark Hitchcock has a podcast on Thursday. Brian Schrager, he is our Israel correspondent, has one on Tuesday. And then we have breaking news, articles, all types of things that happen on endtimes.com. One of the things that we hear most from our subscribers is people say, before I was a subscriber, I was anxious about the things that were happening in the world. When I became a subscriber and I started listening to what you were saying, I'm comforted and I'm excited about Jesus' return. That's when we know we're being successful. When you understand Bible prophecy, it helps you to contextualize what's happening in the world, and rather than being nervous, you realize Jesus is coming. And when the worst of it happens, we're not going to be here. So if you're not a subscriber, $7 a month. And by the way, we have a 7-day free trial, so you can check us out. But become a subscriber, $7 a month, endtimes.com. Billy and I are going to go now into the subscriber-only portion, talking about Israel, China, and Russia. So stay tuned.